He didn't know she was watching him. The sun was setting on the dusty colony of Jarnis IV. The streets were quiet, but not safe. Aaron, a human engineer, had just finished his long shift. His boots were heavy with dirt, his hands still stained with grease. He didn't expect trouble, but trouble was waiting. As he turned into a narrow alley to take a shortcut home, he heard a soft cry. He stopped. A low voice followed a threat in a language he didn't understand, but the tone was clear. Someone was in danger. Aaron stepped closer. In the fading light, he saw 3 tall figures circling someone. They were armed, wearing dark armor. At their center stood a small alien girl, her arms raised to protect her head. Her silver hair glowed under the twin moons. Her green skin trembled. Aaron didn't think. He rushed forward and shouted, "Hey, leave her alone!" The attackers turned, surprised. One charged at him. Aaron grabbed a metal pipe lying on the ground and blocked the first strike. The second attacker hit him hard in the ribs. He fell to his knees. Blood filled his mouth. But he got up again. He swung the pipe and hit one in the leg. The alien howled and fell. The others kept coming. Aaron fought with everything he had kicking. Blocking, bleeding. He didn't know the girl. He didn't know if she was even friendly. He just couldn't walk away. The fight ended when a loud siren echoed through the alley. Colony patrol was coming. The attackers ran. Aaron dropped the pipe and collapsed. The girl walked slowly to him. She looked down at his broken face. Her lips trembled. She knelt and touched his cheek with a shaky hand. "Why?" she whispered. Aaron coughed. "Because you needed help." She stared at him with wide golden eyes. Something in her chest tightened. No one had ever said that to her before, not without wanting something in return. "You're hurt," she said softly. Aaron gave a weak smile. "You should run. They might come back." She looked around, then back at him. Her heart was full of something strange, warm, and painful. She bent forward and pressed her forehead to his. "Thank you," she whispered. Then, before the patrol arrived, she disappeared into the shadows. Later, the colony patrol found Aaron unconscious and bleeding. They took him to the local infirmary. He had a cracked rib, 2 broken fingers, and deep cuts across his back. But he survived. He never got the girl's name. He didn't know who she was, and he never saw her again. But she had seen everything. From the safety of a hidden shuttle far above the colony, the alien princess watched the whole scene replay on a glowing screen. The guards had taken her away, but not before she had given a secret signal to one of her sisters to record what happened. She saw the way Aaron stood up again and again, even when blood poured from his mouth. She watched how he tried to protect someone he didn't know. She saw his pain, his courage, and his kindness. Her hand rested on the screen. Her heart pounded. In her world, warriors were praised. Strength was power. Mercy was weakness. But what Aaron had shown was something different. He had no weapon, no armor, no rank. Yet he fought harder than any soldier. "He bled for me," she whispered. Behind her, another voice spoke. "You touched him. That makes him yours." The princess turned sharply. Her older sister stood there, arms crossed. "What do you mean?" "Don't play dumb," her sister said. "You gave him the sacred touch forehead to forehead. That means you marked him." I didn't know," the princess said softly. "Well, now you do, and so do the others. They saw the footage. The council will talk, and our other sisters, they're already interested." The princess's eyes widened. "No, he doesn't even know who I am." "Then he's in more danger than he thinks," her sister said with a smirk. Far below, on Jarnis IV, Aaron sat up in his bed, breathing slow and steady. His body hurt, but in his heart he felt peace. He didn't know her name. He didn't know she was royalty. He didn't know she was watching him. But very soon, he would find out. And when he did, his life would never be the same again. The princess's secret returns with her. The royal ship flew silently through the stars, but the thoughts inside the alien princess's mind were loud and wild. Her hands were folded tightly in her lap, yet they trembled. She stared out the window as the human colony disappeared behind them, but her heart stayed behind with the human who had bled for her. Back in her palace, everything was the same. The tall glass towers, the glowing stone floors, the quiet servants with lowered eyes. But something inside her had changed. The soft warmth she felt when Aaron whispered, "You should run," still echoed in her chest. She kept the memory hidden. She told no one about what happened in the alley, not the fight, not the blood, not the kiss of gratitude she gave him. But the palace walls had ears, and her secret didn't stay hidden for long. One evening, her eldest sister Talvaya stormed into her chamber. Tall, proud, and powerful, Talvaya ruled half the star sector. She didn't knock. She never needed to. "You were touched by a human," she said coldly. The princess froze. "Who told you that?" "You did," Talvaya said, throwing a small device onto the floor. It lit up and played the footage, Aaron. Standing, fighting, bleeding ... and the princess kneeling to touch his forehead with hers. The moment ended. Silence followed. "You marked him," Talvaya said sharply. "That means he belongs to us now. A blood debt must be answered." "No," the princess whispered. "He saved me." "That should be enough." Talvaya walked closer. "You are royal. Your touch is sacred. When you gave him the forehead blessing, you bound him to us, whether you knew it or not. And now, the other sisters have seen it too." The princess's heart sank. "They won't hurt him, will they?" Talvaya gave a cruel smile. "Hurt him? No. They want him." The princess turned away. But inside, her thoughts were spinning. The man who had helped her had no idea what he had stepped into. He wasn't just kind, he was now a prize. Far away, on the human colony, Aaron had returned to his small workshop. His ribs still ached. His hand was in a brace. He moved slowly, trying to forget everything. But at night, he kept seeing her eyes, the soft gold glow when she touched his cheek, the sadness in her voice when she said thank you. He didn't even know her name. And yet, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He had no idea that far above the skies, her sisters were already on their way. 3 of them, trained warriors, royal blood. And they all believed one thing: he belonged to them now. One of the sisters, G. Curry, watched Aaron's face on a digital screen inside their ship. She licked her lips. He's strong for a human, and not bad to look at. I wonder if he'll resist. He won't have a choice, another sister, Nivani, said. Blood belongs to royalty. He bled for our kind. Now he serves. The third sister, Sirala, said nothing. Her eyes were sharp, cold. I want to see what kind of human fights like. That, with no armor, no training. He bled because his heart is weak. That weakness interests me. Their ship jumped into warp. Meanwhile, the princess stood alone in her private garden. She stared at the fountain. Her hands touched the water, and her voice trembled as she whispered to herself, I never meant to mark him. I didn't want him to die. She remembered how he looked at her, not like a creature, not like a prize, like a person, like someone who mattered. And now, because of that one moment, her sisters were going to claim him. No, she said softly, he's not yours. He's not even mine. He's his own. She turned. A decision had been made. She would follow them. She would return to the colony. Because if they reached him first, they would destroy everything that made him human. Her Sisters find the human-to-human colony was not ready for them. 3 alien women stepped out of a sleek, black ship that shimmered like liquid metal under the sun. They moved together tall, graceful, and powerful. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their skin shimmered with patterns of royalty. Whispers filled the streets as they walked past stunned humans. No one knew who they were, but everyone could feel it. These women were not just visitors. They were here with purpose. Their names were Jakari, Nivani, and Sarala, sisters of the Princess Aren had saved. And they were searching for him. Iaren had no idea his quiet life was about to change again. He had gone back to work in his tiny workshop. The tools in his hand gave him peace, even though the pain in his ribs still reminded him of the fight. He hadn't told anyone the full story, just that he helped someone who was in danger. He didn't even mention she was alien. Who would believe him anyway? But things had started to feel strange. The shopkeeper across the street had mentioned 3 strange women asking questions about a human man who fought in an alley. Aren brushed it off. Lots of people got into fights. Then he noticed someone standing outside his workshop. Not once, but 3 times in the same day. That evening, he walked home with the sun low in the sky. The air was warm, but his skin crawled. He felt watched. He turned a corner and froze. There they were. 3 women stood in the middle of the road, blocking his path. They were unlike anyone he'd ever seen. Their clothes shimmered like starlight. Their eyes locked onto him like targets. Jakari stepped forward first. Her voice was smooth, like a song. "You're the one who bled for our sister." Aren blinked. "Who are you?" "Royalty," Nivani said, her tone flat but firm. "And you, human, belong to us now." Aren's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" Sarala tilted her head. "Don't play dumb. You spilled blood for a member of the royal line. In our culture, that is no small act. You are bound." "I didn't do it for some contract," Aren said. "I saw someone in danger. That's it," Jakari smiled. "Intentions don't matter. You touched her. She marked you. You're already claimed." Aren took a slow step back. "I didn't ask to be claimed. And we didn't ask to. Be curious about a human," Nivani said. "But here we are." Sarala stepped closer. Her eyes didn't blink. "You fought without weapons. You bled without fear. You protected without demand. You are interesting." Aren's heart pounded. "What do you want from me?" "Everything," Jakari whispered. He turned and ran. They didn't follow. Not yet. They just smiled. Back on their ship, the sisters watched Aren through a screen. Sarala tapped the controls. He resists. "That makes him even more valuable." Jakari leaned back. "Let him run. Let him wonder. When he's tired, we'll take him." But they weren't the only ones watching. Far above the colony, another small vessel entered orbit. A single passenger sat inside, her hands clenched on her lap. The princess. Her eyes were wide with fear, but not for herself. "Aren, please stay safe," she whispered. "I'm coming back." Because she knew her sisters. And she knew they never played fair. He says no? They don't like it. Aren didn't sleep that night. He sat in his dark room, staring at the walls, every sound outside making his heart jump. The words echoed in his head again and again. "You're already claimed." He had faced danger before, accidents, angry clients, wild storms, but never this. Never 3 powerful alien women claiming him like he was property. The next morning, he didn't run. He didn't hide. He went to the center of the colony, the public square where trade ships landed and crowds gathered. If they were going to come for him, he'd meet them in daylight, not in shadows, and they came. Jakari, Nivani, and Sarala appeared from nowhere, stepping out of a merchant ship like queens. The crowd fell silent. Eyes followed their every move. Aaron stood waiting, arms crossed, chest still bruised but spirit burning strong. "I'm not going with you," he said, loud and clear. Jakari smirked. "You don't get to say no. I just did." Sarala's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand. You're not a stranger anymore. You are tied to our bloodline. A bond was formed. A life debt exists. I don't care about your customs." Aaron replied, "I helped someone because it was right. I don't belong to anyone." The tension in the square grew heavy. Navani stepped forward slowly. "You dishonor our sister by denying the bond." "I honor her by respecting her choice," Aaron said firmly. "She didn't ask me to fight. I chose to." Just like I'm choosing this now, people started whispering around them. A few humans stepped closer, uncertain but ready. Something was happening, and it wasn't just a personal dispute anymore. It felt like a fight between worlds. Sarala suddenly reached out and touched Aaron's chest. Her hand glowed softly. A symbol burned into the air between them, something ancient, beautiful, and dangerous. Aaron winced. What is that?" "The seal of binding," she said. "Refuse it again, and we'll see if your blood still protects you." He stepped back, eyes burning. "Is this what you call royalty? Threatening someone who saved your sister's life?" Sarala's hand dropped, her face cold as stone. "We don't take rejection well, and I don't take being owned." Jakari stepped forward, softer than the others. "You don't have to fear us, Aaron. We don't want to hurt you. We want to understand you. Your courage, your sacrifice. You are unlike the males we've known. We just want a taste of that." Aaron shook his head. "I'm not something to taste." For a second, all three sisters stood still. Then, without another word, they turned and left the square, their cloaks flowing behind them. But the message had been sent. They weren't giving up. That night, Aaron stayed in a hidden place, not at his home. He knew they might come back stronger, angrier, more determined, and far above. In the skies of Jarnis 4, the princess watched the replay of it all, his refusal, their pressure, his courage. Fists were tight, her heart aching. "They touched him," she whispered. "They tried to bind him again." She turned to the ship's pilot. "Land now. I'm not waiting anymore." Because she had made a mistake by staying silent. Now, her silence had put the human in danger, and it was time she broke every royal rule to protect him, the same way he had bled to protect her. The princess returns to stop them. Night fell heavy on Jarnis 4. The twin moons bathed the colony in silver light, but Aaron found no comfort in it. He stayed hidden inside an old storage unit behind the repaired docks, quiet, alone, his heart beating too loud in his chest. He didn't fear death. He feared being turned into some royal possession, like a shiny jewel in a golden cage. Even now, part of him still remembered her. The girl he bled for. The girl who looked at him like he was more than human. Where was she? And why hadn't she stopped this? The answer came suddenly. The door burst open and bright light spilled in. Aaron raised his arm, ready to fight, but froze. It was her. She stood in the doorway, glowing in her soft blue robes, hair flowing like silver threads under the moonlight. Her eyes, those golden eyes, met his, and everything else disappeared. She stepped inside quietly, her breath shaky, her hands open. He blinked. "You, yes," she whispered. "It's me." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Aaron shook his head. "Why did you send them? Why are they doing this?" "I didn't send them," she said. "They came because of me. Because of what I did." "What you did?" he asked. She stepped closer, voice soft. "When I touched your forehead, I marked you. I didn't know the full meaning. I just wanted to thank you. But our customs are old and strict. A touch, like that, it means ownership." Aaron backed up, stunned. "So I was right. They think I'm some surprise. Tears formed in her eyes. I didn't mean for this to happen. I tried to keep it secret, but my sisters found out. And now they want you because you were brave enough to bleed. He looked at her for a long moment. Why did you come back? She took a deep breath. Because I saw what they were doing, and I couldn't let them take you. Suddenly, behind her, footsteps echoed. 3 figures appeared in the doorway: Jakari, Nivani, and Sarala. Jakari's voice was smooth and mocking. Little sister, always so soft. Nivani added, we gave him a chance to accept his bond. He refused. Now we'll take him. But the princess stepped in front of Aaron and raised her hand. Her voice was clear, powerful. You will not touch him again. The room fell silent. Sarala narrowed her eyes. Move aside. You cannot undo the mark. No, the princess said. But I can claim it, fully, publicly, before witnesses. Aaron stared. What does that mean? It means, she whispered without looking back, I'm choosing you, not as a debt, not as a trophy, as a partner. And if they challenge it, they challenge me. Jakari's face twisted. You would break royal law for a human? The princess turned, her voice shaking. He bled for me, not for glory, not for reward, for me. I won't let that be twisted into something ugly. Aaron stepped forward. He stood beside her, shoulder to shoulder. I'm not anyone's property. But if I had to choose someone to stand with, it would be her. The sisters looked at each other, eyes dark and unreadable. Then Sarala turned away. So be it. They vanished into the night without another word. Aaron looked at the princess. So, what now? She smiled, through tears. Now, we write our own story. And for the first time, both of them felt free. A choice must be made the next morning. The sky above Jarnis 4 turned strange. Hundreds of colony citizens gathered around the central square, where a glowing platform had been set up. Royal banners from the alien empire now fluttered in the wind. Something big was about to happen. The guards whispered. The traders paused their work. Everyone felt it in their bones. This wasn't a normal day. Aaron stood in the center of the platform, his chest tight, his jaw locked. On his left stood the alien princess, calm, proud, and glowing like a rising sun. On his right, her 3 sisters watched him like hawks, each with a different hunger in their eyes. Behind them stood representatives from both the colony and the royal court. A royal trial had been called. Not a trial of law, but of choice. Sarala, the coldest of the sisters, stepped forward. Her voice rang across the square. According to the laws of our bloodline, the human Aaron bears the mark of sacred bonding. By royal rule, that bond must be completed. Today, he must choose which of the royal heirs he will serve and stand beside. The crowd murmured. Aaron took a step forward. I'm not a piece of meat to pass around. I never agreed to be bonded. Jakari smirked. But you bled for one of us. That makes you part of our line. That makes you enough. The princess interrupted. Let him speak. Let him choose. Nivani folded her arms. He chooses one of us, or there will be consequences. Deny the bond entirely, and you risk war. Aaron looked around. Eyes were on him. Alien soldiers, colony leaders, even civilians. One wrong move and peace could shatter like glass. His heart beat hard in his chest. He didn't want power. He didn't want to be dragged into royal games. All he wanted was the truth, something real. He turned to the princess. When I was bleeding in that alley, you didn't care about tradition. You just cared that I was alive. That meant something. She looked at him, her hands trembling slightly. And it still does. Then he looked at her sisters. You want me because of a mark, because I became interesting. But none of you stood in front of me when it mattered. She did. Silence. Aaron turned back to the platform. So if I must choose, I choose the one who didn't see me as a reward. I choose her. The crowd gasped. The princess blinked in shock. Her sister scowled in disbelief. Sirala stepped forward, fury in her voice. You reject the rest of us? I reject the idea that bleeding for someone turns me into a prize, Aaron said. But if my choice prevents war, then yes, I'll stand by her. Not as a servant. Not as property. As a man, as an equal. The platform shimmered with a new light. A sacred symbol appeared beneath their feet, 2 stars, intertwining. The bond was complete. The crowd erupted in stunned silence. Then, applause. From the human side, from a few aliens. Even from one of the guards who wiped his eyes secretly. The sisters turned and walked away, their pride wounded but their honor intact. They could not challenge the bond now. Aaron looked at the princess. She looked back, eyes soft, voice shaking. You chose me. Even when I brought danger, he smiled. You didn't bring danger. You brought meaning. And for the first time, the human and the alien stood side by side, not as enemies, not as master and servant, but as 2 souls who had bled, broken, and chosen each other, not by force, but by truth. He chose love, not power. The bond was done. Across the colony and beyond, the news spread like fire in dry wind. A human had chosen a royal alien princess, not for gain, not for power, but for love. Some called it madness. Others whispered that it was history. But no one could deny it. Something had changed. Aaron didn't feel like a hero. He wasn't a soldier or a king. He was just a man who made a choice. A choice to stand beside someone who saw him as more than just blood and bone. The days after the bonding ceremony were quiet but strange. Alien ships returned to their skies, but kept a respectful distance. The princess's sisters had disappeared from the colony without a word, and the humans? They looked at Aaron with a new kind of respect and confusion. Why would a man turn down power, fortune, and royal glory? Because love had looked him in the eye. In the royal guest wing where the princess stayed, Aaron now walked freely. No guards, no titles, just 2 people trying to understand each other better each day. She showed him the old songs of her people. He taught her how to fix an old plasma pump. One night, she sat beside him under the stars and asked softly, "Do you regret it?" Aaron didn't answer right away. He looked at the stars, so many of them, endless and quiet. "I don't regret bleeding for you," he finally said. "I regret not knowing your name sooner." She smiled, small and warm. Elira. He looked at her. "Elira, that's beautiful." "You bled for me before you even knew my name," she whispered. "Now you speak it like it belongs in your heart." He reached over, not to hold her like a prize, but just to touch her hand gently. "It does," he said. Far away, her sisters stood before the High Council. They were questioned, scolded, and dismissed. But deep inside they felt something strange, not anger, not shame, but wonder. None of them had ever been chosen last and still lost. None of them had ever seen someone walk away from everything they offered just to stand beside someone else. It was humbling. Maybe even powerful. Back on Jarnes 4, life slowly returned to normal. Aaron went back to his workshop. But now there were alien tools on his shelves, strange metals, bright crystals. Elira often visited him, wearing plain clothes, blending in like just another face in the colony. The people began to accept her not as a princess, but as his partner. One evening, a child approached them and asked, "Are you a queen?" Elira knelt down and smiled. "Not here." "Here, I'm just Elira." The child pointed at Aaron. "Is he your guard?" She laughed. "No, he's the one who guards my heart." That night, Aaron sat beside her once again under the open sky. "You know," he said, "if someone had told me a few weeks ago that I'd be bonded to an alien princess, I'd have called them crazy." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "And if someone told me a human would make me forget the weight of my crown, I'd have never believed them." He looked up. The stars looked closer now. Maybe that's what happens when two worlds collide, not with war, not with greed, but with a bleeding hand and an open heart. And so, the human who never sought glory found something greater. Not a throne, but love, not a crown, but a choice freely made and deeply returned.